Planning for retirement today is a challenge, to say the least. A lot of obstacles are standing in your way, such as longevity, taxes, healthcare, inflation, a crazy volatile stock market. But one of the bigger staples that most people relied upon for their retirement is no longer there. And what we're talking about is a standard pension, a defined benefit plan. Do you have one? Do you know how to make retirement work without it? Stick around, because that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, everyone. Joe Anderson here, certified financial planner, president of Pure Financial Advisors. I'm with that big man. He's Big Al Clopine. He's sitting right over there. We're going to break a few things down today in regards to how do you have a successful retirement without that big guaranteed income that's going to last the rest of your life. That's today's Financial Focus. Look at this, 1980. Do you remember the 80s? You got big hair, you got Janet Jackson, Prince, Madonna, and 39% of people that were working in the private sector had a pension. 39%. This is not public. Look at today, 2015, half. About 15% of people that are getting their jobs today will have any type of pension. And I guarantee you, if we did this show 5 years from now, that number will probably be 5%. So how do you deal with this? Because this is a huge source of retirement. That was the staple of retirement for many, many years. Now it's on us to create that retirement income through 401ks, Social Security, your savings, and everything else in between. Let's break this down. Let's bring in Big Al. 15%. That even seems high to me.
It does seem high. And of course, now the public sector is a whole different thing. There's a lot more pension plans. But I would say a lot more workers are in the private sector, and very few have pension plans.
And here's another problem that we see, too, is that let's say if I do have that job, that I had that pension, and I'm going to rely on that pension. I might be 50 years old. I have very little savings because I think that pension is going to be there for me. And what we're seeing every week, every month, are these large companies, they're freezing their pensions.
Yeah, they are.
You can't rely 100% on these pensions anymore.
You're right, Joe. And in fact, some of the airlines and other larger companies have frozen their pension plans, and the former employees are not getting the benefits that they thought. So let's talk today about what to do without a pension plan, because that's kind of commonplace for most private sector workers. So I guess it's a matter of what you can control and how you can set up your pension, right? So let's start first of all with maximizing Social Security. So that's a big one. We'll spend a little time there. That's something that most everybody has. How about boosting your savings, right? And we're going to talk about strategies that either adding to what you have, or if you're behind, how to kind of catch up a little bit. Retiring later, this is going to be something that's important for many of you because we are living longer. If you work till age 70, you're going to have the maximum Social Security, so we'll get into that. Maybe working part-time through retirement. And then finally, a lot of folks, particularly in Southern California, where we're recording this show, have a lot of home equity. They may not have a lot of savings, but they have a lot of home equity, so we'll get into that. So, Joe, it's an important topic, right? Because as you just described, only 15% of private sector workers have pension plans.
You know, I was looking at your little rundown there. There's not one good thing on there that excites me about I got to work longer, I got to save more, I got to figure out Social Security, I got to rent out a room in my house.
You know, Joe,
you don't got a magic bullet? We can't just get this magic investment and just live happily ever after?
It's not all a garden of roses. We're going to have to get to work. So,
but let's look at this. This was like the standard staple of retirement planning. You've probably seen this before, the three-legged stool of retirement, right? You got your pensions, you got Social Security and personal savings, and then you just sit on this stool and then you drink your coffee and you have a wonderful retirement. But guess what? That stool is a little bit wobbly. She's a little bit wobbly today.
Got a couple legs, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I would not want to sit on that thing. I think that's not going to save you for your retirement.
And what we're seeing, a lot of people don't have pension plans and they don't have a lot of savings either. So it's a one-legged stool. So this is getting hard to balance.
And so that's why I think Social Security and understanding when to claim, how to claim your Social Security benefits is key. Now, 40 quarters of employment, 10 years of putting into the system qualifies you for a retirement benefit. You could get a spousal benefit, so if you're married, you never put into the system, but you were married for an individual for 10 years. You can even claim on this, Big Al, an ex-spouse, as long as you are married to that individual for 10 years. And then there's also the survivor benefit.
Sure.
So you had to have been married for at least 9 months to be able to get that survivor benefit. There's a lot of different things to look at in regards to Social Security, and maximizing your Social Security benefits is more important than ever. Because still, I mean, we've seen it, like people still take it as soon as they can get it, and they don't maybe understand the impact of that.
Yeah, Joe, I think that's the majority, and so you got to understand when you can take it and maybe when you should might be two different things. So you can take it as early as age 62, but you can wait as long as age 70. So let's look at a person full retirement age right now is 66 and 2 months, so that's $2,000 per month. Let's just say that's the benefit. Now, if you take that person, if they take it at 62, it's $1,500 a month, and if you take it at age 70, it's $2,640. That's quite a difference, and you can see it's not just 62, 66, and 70. You can take it at any time along this graph here, and you can get a sense of how much more that you would get by waiting, and a lot of folks are going to do well, Joe, to wait till age 70 because that's where they got the highest Social Security benefit. Maybe they've been saving longer, right? Their required minimum distributions.
You have to look at it like this, right? Because how they looked at Social Security back in the 80s, if you take it at 62, if you took it at full retirement age, or if you took it at 70, roughly you got the same amount of money out of the system because we had a life expectancy here, right? So you got your income, and if you add up your overall benefits, let's say it equaled $600,000. It didn't matter when you took it. But now guess what? We're living way out here. And so all of this room is here that we're still living. So pushing your Social Security benefit out is probably going to benefit you because we have significantly higher life expectancies. I know it's very difficult for us to do that because as soon as you give up your paycheck, you need another paycheck to come in. And that's why we're claiming Social Security probably wrong, because it's a sense of comfort that we're getting. It's short-sighted. I mean, that's with everything with financial planning. We have to be a little bit more patient in our strategies. When the stock market goes down, what do? We get out, and as soon as I retire, I'm going to claim my Social Security benefits. If you be patient a little bit and wait for the market to come back up, or if you wait until you take your Social Security benefits, things will benefit you that much more. It's just doing math. It's simple arithmetic. We're living longer, so you want to make sure that you have capital available to you. The biggest fear that all of us have is what? Running out of money. But why aren't we doing any planning to figure this stuff out? And it's not as difficult as it seems. It's daunting. But if you do some math, it's relatively easy.
Well, that was quite a rant, and
I'm a little fired up. I'm hot. These lights are burning up.
Mr. Joe Anderson, I agree with everything that you said, and I think for a lot of folks, what happens is your tendency is to claim Social Security at 62. We know what the stats are right now. It's about 2 or 3% claim their benefits at age 70. But look at this in terms of a monthly and annual benefit. It's the same exact example. Age 62, you get it at $1,500 a month. 70, $2,600 per month. But look at annual, right? Annual, $18,000 a year versus almost $32,000 by waiting, Joe. And for a lot of folks that don't have a pension plan, that haven't saved enough money, this is a really big deal. This is about a 75, 76% increase just for waiting a little bit.
When we get back from the break, Al and I are going to talk about some different levers that you can pull, right? So if you just push out your retirement a little bit longer, that's going to push out your Social Security. That means you're not taking savings, you're actually saving more. If you wait for retirement for a couple of years, it will add income for maybe 7 or 8 years. You don't want to miss this. Good morning, everyone. Show's called Your Money, Your Wealth. We'll be back in just a second. Hey, welcome back to Your Money, Your Wealth. Joe Anderson and Alan Clopine hanging out here today, talking about how do you get through retirement without a pension. But before we dive into more details, let's see how you did on the true-false question.
According to the Social Security Administration, the trust fund is projected to last until 2035. That part is true. Accordingly, it's best not to include any Social Security payments in your retirement plan. True or false? What do you think, Joe?
Well, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on how old you are. I think a lot of younger generation individuals don't count Social Security, and I think that's been that way for a long time. And then as they get older, they're like, well, no, I'm definitely going to be counting Social Security because they know how much Social Security actually means to their overall successful retirement. So no, yeah, you absolutely want to include Social Security in any type of retirement projections that you're doing. So yeah, there's going to be some fixes. We just don't know what they're going to be. They could extend Social Security age. They could lower cost of living adjustments. They could increase the payroll tax. There could be means testing. There could be all sorts of different things. Stick around, stay tuned for that. But I would always include Social Security in your benefits, Social Security benefits in your retirement.
Yeah, Joe, I would agree with that. And the thing is, in 2035, let's say there's no fixes. That means that there will still be payments to cover 77% of the benefits. So that's not 100%, but it's 77%. Every time the Social Security Administration has faced issues, they have fixed it, and likely they will again. Now, if you are in your 20s and you want to be more conservative, sure, you don't necessarily need to include it, but I think for most people they would. So, Joseph, it's that time of the day. We have what we call Countdown to Retirement. Let's see how you do.
Hey, Joe. I have multiple IRAs and I have multiple Roths. Is there any advantages or disadvantages to combining all of the Roths or all of the standard IRAs?
You know, advantages and disadvantages. So we see this quite a bit. So let's say that I've established a Roth at Vanguard, then I established another Roth at Fidelity, then TD Ameritrade, and maybe I have an old one at Merrill Lynch, and then I got an IRA at XYZ Custodian, Scottrade, whatever. A lot of times you might think that is diversification. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm diversified behind several different custodians. That only makes you get a lot of mail, right? It's not necessarily diversified. What investments you select inside of those shells is really what the diversification is. Does it make sense to consolidate? In my opinion, absolutely. It's going to make your life very easy. You can manage the assets a lot easier under one account versus trying to rebalance or tax manage it or taking distributions and so on and so forth. So no, I don't see any really true advantage of having multiple custodians in multiple areas. It's just going to make your life more confusing as you get older, and it's just going to flood your mailbox with a bunch of mail from all sorts of different custodians. There you have it.
Very good, Joe.
That's my countdown.
Okay, and I concur with your statement because it's very hard to manage assets when they're in several different accounts. It's much easier when you put them in a single account. And having more than one account is not account diversification. Account diversification is different investments within an account. So, Joe, let's now move the show to boosting savings. That's something else that you can do if you don't have a pension plan. And when you think about it, let's start maybe with a 50-year-old that actually has not done anything whatsoever. So let's look at this example. And let's say you are in a company that does not have a 401k. So let's start with your choice of an IRA. Currently, you could put $5,500 in and a $1,000 catch-up. So that would be $6,500 per year. Now, if you work till age 70, so that's 20 years at a 7% rate of return, you would end up with about $266,000, which is well above the averages as they stand right now. But 401k, much better, of course. You can put in $18,000. The catch-up is $6,000. I'm saying an employer match might be about $3,000, so that's $27,000. You got nothing at age 50. Now you got $1.1 million at age 70. And I think, Joe, that's what a lot of people need to be thinking about if they reach their 50s without any savings. I know that's difficult to all of a sudden turn it on like that, but if you don't do it now, your retirement's not really...
Well, I don't think they've ever seen the numbers before. And here's the problem with the system, is that let's say if you don't have a 401k plan, it's a lot easier to save a lot more money in a 401k plan because it comes right out of your paycheck. You don't even see the money, so there's no impulse buys. With an IRA, I have to send a check to that custodian, monthly or at the end of the year or whatever. So it's more difficult for people to save in an IRA, in my opinion, than a 401k. And let's say that person had the same amount of income. The people with 401k plans have a lot larger balance. But this should motivate you, right? If you do have a 401k plan, max that thing out, right? If you have zero savings at age 50, it is not too late. You can still do this. But you're right, Al, it's going to take some discipline. And there's some ideas that we have for you to say, all right, well, how do you boost your savings? What are some of the things that you can potentially do?
Yeah, and I think first is pay yourself first. As you just said, Joe, if you got a 401k, then that's an automatic payment. It automatically gets deducted out of your account. If you don't have a 401k, you can actually do an auto withdrawal from your checking account to an IRA. That's real important because otherwise it'll never happen. And then increase your savings automatically as you get raises each year. Bank those raises instead of spending them. Certainly take advantage of retirement plan employer matches to the extent that your employer is giving you free money. And for some of you, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, maybe building some extra income with a second job is something you need to consider. Or maybe you can make yourself more valuable in your current job and end up with a higher salary.
Yeah, just make yourself more valuable, then maybe you might get a raise.
Well,
and that was not for you, audience. That was an inside joke from the producers behind the scenes there that were laughing about raises.
Yes.
So, oh boy.
Anyway,
yeah, well, I mean, you've got to be disciplined, I guess, is the point.
But here's the point. If you can't start with $18,000 or $24,000, start with something.
Yeah, start.
Right?
Yes.
And then each year increase it, right?
Yeah, if you get a little bit of a bonus, don't spend it all, spend half of it. Because look at the impact of this. I mean, if you take a look, the increase of income that you can potentially have in retirement, it is significant. So depending on where you're starting. So if you can push out your Social Security, right, if you can delay your retirement, it has significant impact on the bottom line. Because if you were to retire, let's say at 62, full retirement at age 70, the increase in overall income that you would receive from everything is pretty large. I mean, look at the numbers.
Yeah, and if you look at this at age 65, here's an example of somebody that saved $500,000, and a typical distribution rate might be about 4%. It's not a perfect number, but just to give you an idea, so that you could take about $20,000 out of that portfolio each year. Social Security would be about $22,000, so that's $42,000 saved. But if you just work a few more years, look what happens by the time you reach age 70. You've got a higher balance, you can take a higher distribution rate, so your portfolio withdrawals are higher, your Social Security is higher. Now your income is $70,000, over $70,000, where it was closer to $40,000 before. And it's a lot of people don't realize, Joe, if you work just a few extra years in retirement, it can make a very big difference in how your retirement looks.
Right, and let's just say you kept at that bottom number, right? Then you could push out your assets that much further. But here's Big Al's suggestion to all of us, right? Go back to work. Right?
Work in retirement.
Work in retirement. But I think there's some valid reasons to do this. So let's say your shortfall could be $30,000 a year. Maybe you go back to work part-time and you make $10,000 a year. Now your shortfall is only $20,000. And guess what? If you want to retire a little bit early, if you stay employed, health care is covered for you until you reach Medicare age at age 65. You can boost your savings a little bit. You're not taking a lot out. You can push your Social Security. I mean, again, it's just a little bit of leverage that you need to pull here to stretch these dollars out as far as you can go. And you'd be amazed if you just ran the numbers, I think.
Yeah, and I would say another thing is a lot of people don't want to work till 70, and I understand that. So you retire at 64, whatever. And maybe you wait on Social Security till age 70, but you need an extra $30,000. So you work part-time, you make $30,000 working part-time, so that at age 70 you have a higher Social Security payment, and then you're off and running. You don't necessarily have to do the job you hate through age 70.
Yeah. All right, hey, we got to take another break, and when we get back, we're going to wrap things up by answering your email questions, but we have one more segment about maybe you want to have someone live with you to help you through retirement. Stick around for that. The show's called Your Money or Wealth. Hey, welcome back to the show. Show's called Your Money or Wealth. Joe Anderson and Big Al hanging out here talking about how do you survive this crazy retirement without a pension. Now we're really going to get into it. But before we do that, let's see how you did on the true false. Hopefully you passed.
Most people inherit money from relatives, so that money should be factored into their retirement plan. That's an interesting true false.
Is someone anticipating a death in the family?
So I think the answer, I'm going to go with false, Joe, because the majority of folks receive no retirement. In fact, it's something like only 1 out of 15 baby boomers will receive $100,000 or more, and I think only 1 out of 5 receive any inheritance at all. So I wouldn't necessarily count on it. And plus, you know what, with your parents, maybe they'll need to go to long-term care, something like that. I would plan your own retirement on your own.
A lot of you, your home is one of the largest assets that you have, and you might need to downsize and sell that big house and get something a little bit smaller, and you can use some of that capital. Or home equity loan, reverse mortgages, and here's Big Al's favorite.
Yeah, renting a room.
Yeah.
John, I know that's how many rooms are in your house?
I got a couple. No, you're not moving in when you get frail.
Yeah, you got 4 or 5. You could probably you have a third story for a view. You could probably close that, have yet another.
Yeah.
Probably have 5 or 6 roommates, I bet you. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
the Golden Boys.
You could retire right now with all those bedrooms, I think.
Right, yeah. No, that would be awful. It would be full of cigar smoke and cards and...
Oh, boy.
Well, that's my retirement vision. Can't we all have our own vision of retirement? If I'm going to live with like 5 guys in my retirement, it's going to be fun. It'll be probably short-lived.
Yeah.
But that's a way to go.
Well, that's one way to not outlive your money.
Yes. All right. Hey, let's switch the show to our viewers here. Let's go to the email bag and see what we got today.
All right, Sarah from Leucadia. My husband is 72. I'm 51. If I don't reach retirement age before he passes away, will I still be able to claim his Social Security benefits? And Sarah, I guess I have good news for you. The answer is yes. You can still claim his benefits. Actually, as a survivor, you can claim benefits as early as age 60, but you might want to wait longer to get a higher payment because it kind of works the same way like we talked about. The longer you wait, the higher the monthly payment.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily good news. She's 51, Al. And so if he passes away, let's say next year, hopefully that's not the case. A lot of times it's like, okay, well, he was already collecting a benefit. I'm 51. Can I claim that survivor benefit now because that income was already coming into the household? The answer is no. You have to wait until 60. And if you do take it at 60 and if you have income, they're going to take a lot of that back. There's income thresholds. So, and then also it's going to be a reduced benefit. So you want to be careful on how you're claiming a survivor benefit. Also, if there's kids involved, and if they're minors, then you would get a benefit in that situation if you had kids that were under majority age. So let's go to the next email question.
Yeah, Joe, so let's hope that he lives another 9 years till she hits 60. So this is Phil in Mission Hills. I'm 54 years old. I'm playing catch-up on building my retirement funds. How should I account for inflation when estimating how much money I will need for retirement? Well, Phil, I'm glad you asked that question because really inflation is one of the things that a lot of folks forget when they start planning out their retirement because how much you spend today, it's going to be a completely different dollar amount in the future. I would say an average over historical average is about 3% per year. It's been lower lately. We actually use a little bit higher amount in our firm of closer to 3.7% just to be more conservative. But make sure that you're doing that so that by the time you reach retirement, you'll have a more realistic idea of what you're going to be spending.
Guaranteed, Phil did not like that answer. Because Phil, in his email, says, hey, I'm playing catch-up. I am a little bit behind the 8 ball, and I'm probably running some projections here. And guess what people do when you're a little bit behind the 8 ball? You try to make the numbers look as rosy as possible. So you might use a 1% inflation rate, because if you use 1% or 2% versus what we use, close to 4%, you need a lot less assets to provide a lifestyle for the next 20, 30 years. I get this too with education. It's like, yeah, my son, he's such a great athlete. I don't think we need to save for him because he's going to get a full ride scholarship. Or, my daughter, she's a genius, right? No, you have to be realistic here. I understand that there's probably not enough capital to provide everything that you want, but you want to use realistic numbers because you will go broke. Let's go to the last one for today.
So I have a chance to take a job that pays 15% less than the salary I currently make, but it comes with a pension, free health care for the rest of my life. If I stay at the job for a decade, how can I determine if a cut in my income is worth the other benefits? That's a great question. And Joe, you and I were talking about this actually before the break, and I think it's a calculation to figure out the less savings, how does that compare to the pension that you're going to be receiving? So you have to know, kind of both of those. But let's say you receive a $40,000 pension from working 10 years, then that's equivalent to about $1 million of savings. So that's probably a pretty good deal to take that, as long as you want to take the job. I don't want you to work in a job just for benefits. I want you to be passionate as well.
Take the job. Take the job. I don't care
I'd say be passionate.
I don't care if you're not passionate, right? It's only 10 years of your life. Take the job, get the full pension, free health care. In 10 years, do whatever you want. Find your passion then. Take the job, sir. All right, hey, that's it for us today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next week to help you with more financial matters. For Big Al Clopine, I'm Joe Anderson. Have a wonderful day, everyone.